I said adding another day to the show, or I should say another day to the week for this show, but little did I realize I'd be doing it the very next night. Hello, hi, how you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome back to another session of Chattin on the Porch, a little live stream where we get together and talk about items in the news, try to figure out what it all means, and laugh or cry, depending on the case, through it all. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. I am sometimes known as the wise guy in the wide brim. Sometimes I'm called the common man with common sense. But above all else, I am your host. We are on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we are on Twitter. So if you haven't done it yet, send out a Twitter, a Gettr, a Gab, a tweet, a Truth Social, a Facebook post, wherever you are out there on social media, and let them know, hey, there's a very funny man in a hat talking very loudly into a microphone. You might want to get in here and check this guy out. So who knows? Maybe your friends are hard up for entertainment. Well, I know they would be hard up for entertainment. And the reason being, let's be honest about it. Jeopardy sucks. Ever since the passing of the legendary Alex Trebek, we've had to put up with substandard hosts. With the exception of, well, a couple of people, never mind. But you get the idea. You need something to do to help you get through your 7:30 hour of the night. So that's what I say we need to do. We need to get in here and talk about what's going on in the news. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am your Front Porch Conservative. And we got a pretty good show lined up for this evening. Different things are going on. Some things are follow-ups from last night. Some things are new items for tonight. And, you know, I'm really getting used to the idea of this whole live stream thing through the week. If any of y'all have been following my channel now for a while, usually I was putting out about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 videos a week and doing one live stream on the weekends. And sometimes through the week I would do an interview, which I'm not giving up on the interviews or the videos. It's just mind and body were reaching the point where it's like, okay, dude, you got to do something here because, you know, this being up till like 1 or 1:30 in the morning is like killing you, which again, I'm not complaining about. This is the price you pay to build the channel you've got. And that's where we be. So we're glad to have you here. We'll let people settle into their seats, make sure everybody's doing pretty good tonight. And we've got some news. Some of it, like I said, are follow-ups from last night. Some of it are things that are new today. And boy, did we get some big news. And we're going to get into all that here momentarily. So getting everything set up slowly but surely. Just checking on some stuff real quick. I know Rumble seems to be working just fine. I just got to make sure that YouTube is functioning appropriately. And apparently it looks like it is. Let me just make sure of one thing here. Appropriately. Okay, yeah, apparently it's functioning appropriately. Okay. All righty then. Let's get down to business, shall we? So I want to start off. Well, first of all, a gigantic thank you to the folks over on Rumble. When I say the folks over on Rumble, I'm not necessarily talking about their corporate folks or their anybody else, and nothing against them, by the way. Don't get me wrong. When I say the folks on Rumble, I want to reach out and say thank you to people who view content on Rumble, because last night's session of Chattin on the Porch got the highest amount of views that I've ever had for almost anything that I've ever put up on Rumble. Now, if you've been around my channel long enough, you'll know that when I do a live stream, I live stream simultaneously to YouTube, to Rumble, and to Twitter. So if you're out there, wherever you be on social media, I'm trying to give cast the broadest net, as it were, to try and get the most people viewing, you know, what we're doing here. Last night, however, and it was a really good live stream last night. If I may say so, at the risk of being immodest, I thought I did very well from a presentation standpoint, from a content standpoint, with the understanding it can always get better. But on the whole, I thought it was one of my better live streams that I've done recently. And apparently viewers on Rumble felt much the same way. As of right now, that live stream I did has received 646 views. Now, To a lot of people who do live streaming, they're like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. Hey, to a guy who's been doing this for just a little over a year, and Rumble and I have had a very, what's the word I'm looking for here? We've had a very fickle relationship with each other. And I think it's an issue that I don't understand how to best utilize it or best market myself to it. But last night, for some reason, everything just kind of hit the right way, and we got a big number of views on Rumble. So for everybody who took the time to check out the live stream, either during or after, and I think most of it came after, I've got to thank you from the bottom of my heart because you guys are just way too cool. Like I said, for a guy who's been doing this for just a little over a year, to get that many views for a live stream ran about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. That was kind of cool. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. That was very, very gracious of you. Okay, let's get down to business. Well, howdy, howdy. Lutch, good to have you here, sir. Glad to have you in the house. Let's get down to business, talk about some stuff that's left over from last night. Now, as I was mentioning yesterday evening, there were primaries going on around the country, and two of them in particular. There was the state of West Virginia, my home area. There was also the state of Maryland. Well, last night, something of a shock happened in the state of Maryland. Now, in case you have not been paying attention to it, Maryland has a Senate race up this year. All right. The current U.S. Senator, Ben Cardin, is retiring in November, and there were two Democrats who were running for the seat. One of them is a current congressman. His name is David Trone, and the other was an executive in one of the counties. I think it was Prince George's County, Maryland, and her name was Angela Also Brooks. Well, most political prognosticators who are watching this race for the Democratic nomination for the Senate seat in Maryland were giving David Trone, the congressman, the advantage on the grounds that he had almost unlimited financial resources. And, on that basis, he would probably go ahead and win the nomination and take on the probable Republican nominee, former Governor Larry Hogan, Republican. Well, the political gods, I use that small g term for them, had other ideas. Well, it turns out that last night, Angela Also Brooks pulled off an amazing upset of about little under 13 points. She whipped him. And if you look at it on here on the map, I mean, obviously the colors represent who's who. She didn't win a lot of counties, but she won the areas of Baltimore, Annapolis, and the collar counties that surround them. And that was enough to propel her to, like I said, an almost 13-point victory. Now, what does that mean for the November election? Well, it could mean, and again, I say could, it could mean that the Republicans, for the first time in God only knows how long, actually pick up a Senate seat in the state of Maryland. So I want to take you to Axios.com, and we have the following. Angela Also Brooks wins Maryland Democratic Senate primary, AP projects. Article by Steph Knight and Stephen Newcomb. We have the following. Prince George's County Executive Angela Also Brooks won Maryland Senate Democratic primary Tuesday night, besting Representative David Trone, Democrat of Maryland. Her victory comes in one of the only competitive Senate primaries this year, and in the face of Trone spending, now get this, more than $60 million of his own money on the bid. Okay, now that I know how much money this joker spent and he still lost, I'm actually glad he did, because if he can't spend his own personal money any better than that to win just a primary, I don't want him touching public money any more than is absolutely necessary. Granted, he's already in the U.S. House of Representatives, but if he's that big of a dumbass, he can't win his own primary fight spending $60 million of his own money. Heck no, I don't want him anywhere near the public treasury. But let us continue. And hello, Corey. Glad to have you here tonight. Good to see you, sir. Getting back to the article. It is a reminder that money only goes so far in American politics. Well, I'll agree with that. Also, Brooks will now face the popular former Republican Governor Larry Hogan in the November general election. Hogan's entry has made the Senate race in the deep blue state surprisingly competitive, and in a year when Democrats are already forced to defend Senate seats in 8 other states. Allies have argued that also Brooks is the best candidate to beat Hogan because she can turn out voters in largely urban areas like Baltimore City and Prince George's County. She defeated Trone handily in those areas in the primary contest. Race was called just before 10 p.m. Eastern, much earlier than expected. Also, Brooks showed strength in the vote that were counted first, mail-in and early voting, and it's believed that Trone would do better with those votes because of older, more moderate voters tend to vote early. Republicans also hit Brooks with their first line of attack after the race is being called. And Steve Daines, Republican from Montana, the chair of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, said in a statement that also Brooks, quote, underfunded law enforcement while crime is skyrocketing in her county. Now, that could be something that gets her in trouble later on down the line. And yeah, Corey, they'll find a way to grab defeat from it's possible. But let's step back and take a look at this for just a second. It's been so long since Republicans have held a Senate seat in Maryland. I mean, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you who it was. I'd literally have to go back and look it up. That's how long it's been, okay? And while this Angela Also Brooks defeated Steve Trone, does it automatically mean Larry Hogan, the Republican nominee and the former governor, let's not dismiss who and what he was, he's a former 2-term governor of the state of Maryland, does that mean that he's automatically a shoo-in to win in November? No, not necessarily. I mean, I think the Axios article brings up a very valid point, and that is, I mean, look, apparently, according to the voting analysis, she did very well in Baltimore and Annapolis, particularly the inner cities. She got out votes, and she did very well with early and mail-in voting, something that's been a bugaboo for Republicans in recent elections. On the other side of that, however, you've got a popular 2-term governor, and also Brooks does not have $60 million in her back pocket. Okay, if Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are going to keep this seat in the Democrat column, they're going to have to pump in some money, because ain't no way in the world that she's going to raise the kind of money that she needs to put up a legitimate, straight up fight against Larry Hogan. Because if I know the Republicans, they're going to look at what's going on in Maryland and make the same classic mistake that they always make, which goes to, Corey's point that he made a moment ago. They'll find a way to grab defeat from the jaws of victory. Here's the classic thing that Republicans do in a moment like this. They see an opening in a state where they weren't projected to pick up a seat, and they'll just start pumping all kinds of money into it while ignoring states with candidates that either they don't like or they don't weigh it in the balances. What I mean is, they see a state like Maryland and they say, oh my gosh, we've got a chance to pick up a seat in Maryland. We've got to do something. Whereas they'd have an easier lift in a state like Ohio or Arizona or Montana. And if they're not careful, they're going to start diverting resources away from those seats, which might be easier to win, and pump it into a state like Maryland, where they got a shot, but not that good of a shot. So, now, all that aside, boil it all down. This is what it comes down to, at least for me right now. And, I'll be glad to hear what you guys have got to say about it. This is going to be first of all, it's a race no one was expecting to be competitive. Because, I mean, you see the name, you see the word Maryland, and you're like, Democrat. Now the Democrats have to actually defend this seat. I mean, it was an open seat. You had a retiring U.S. senator, but no one I think, frankly, really either side. until maybe Larry Hogan decided to get in for the Republicans. Nobody thought about this seat as being one of those you got to keep an eye on for this fall. Now, not only do you have Larry Hogan, a former two-term Republican governor and popular, running for the Republicans, you have the Democrat candidate that a lot of people would look at, okay, she's a Democrat, but she's not the first choice of Democrats because you want the other guy because he can more or less self-finance this thing. So we'll keep an eye on this one. This one's going to be interesting. I mean, there's about 5 or 6 races around the country that are going to decide, who controls the Senate. Now, keep in mind, the Republicans don't really have to pick up that many seats to put themselves in the majority. They, realistically speaking, they need just 2, 3 at the most. Okay? They really need, and they're going to get them because, in this cycle, the Democrats only have to defend, the Republicans really only have to defend 2 seats, Florida and Texas. And let me ask you guys a question. What do you think the odds are that Rick Scott and Ted Cruz, respectively, are going to lose their seats? All things in the universe are possible, but not all things are highly probable. Okay? The Democrats, on the other hand, have to defend seats in Ohio, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Montana, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, all around the country. Okay? This is not a good time. This is not a good time for the Democrats to have to be defending that many Senate seats, especially in a presidential election year, and especially when Donald Trump is back on the ballot. Okay? Well, I tell you what, dear, we will do our best. We will do our best to help you feel better, because that is part of my job, is to serve, protect, defend, and make my viewers feel better about their day, among other things. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you totally on this, Corey. I mean, provided that someone, well, there's a joke I can make, but I won't do it out of basic decency. Let's just put it like this where it comes to Ted Cruz. Assuming that somebody doesn't have some very bad photos of him in some extraordinarily compromising positions, and I cleaned that up. Assuming that, yeah, you're right. Cruz is more or less, he can stay in that seat as long as he wants to. I mean, every race is going to get tougher because, he's not establishment Republican per se, but Cruz is more or less safe. Same thing with Rick Scott, okay? Now, that there are some other things going on out there, and I'll mention this one in passing. Keep your eye on Utah later in the month of June. There's a fella running out there right now by the name of Trent Staggs. He's a mayor of, I'm forgetting the name of the town off the top of my head. He won the Utah GOP caucus. I mean, big numbers. And he's the leading candidate out there. I tell you what, if he wins the Utah primary and actually gets the official nomination for the Senate seat out there, okay, it's Utah. We're probably going to have a Republican senator, but Trent Staggs is pretty daggone America First MAGA. So keep your eyes on that one. Okay? I'm just saying. Now, in that vein, now I've heard this. I have heard this. And frankly, he'd make a superb jurist. He really would. He'd make a good one for the Supreme Court. Maybe if Donald Trump wins and we get a retirement, you put him on there because, man, can you imagine him, Thomas, Gorsuch, and Alito together? Woo! Look out. That'd be fun. Anywho, so that's what's going on from last night. And that gets us to a big time piece of news that dropped today. And the way this came out was, and I'm not going to lie, was kind of confusing. All right. For the longest time now, really probably since April, there's been a certain amount of jabbing back and forth between the Biden and Trump campaigns about a presidential debate. How are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? What dates do we want to do it on? Should the Commission on Presidential Debates be involved in this? Yada, yada, yada. Well, today, news has broken that we now have the dates for the debates. And interestingly enough, the Commission on Presidential Elections apparently is not going to be involved in this. No. Don't worry about it. No, I mean, don't worry about it. Do not worry about it at all. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I'm not upset. It's all good. I sometimes get stuff wrong. So no, I'm not. I saw where you responded to something I tweeted. I'm not worried about it. It's all good. I love you, dear. You're awesome. Don't worry about it. Well, they have now settled on the dates of the debates, and they have settled on who's going to be involved with them, and they have cut out the Commission on Presidential Debates. Now, for those of you who are watching and you're not familiar, you're sitting there asking yourself, hey, Porch, what are you talking about with this whole Commission on Presidential Debates? Well, ages ago, or at least it feels like it anyway, after the 1988 debates, there was set up the Presidential Commission on Debates, which is more or less a body that determines the dates, the locations, who the moderators are, the format, the rules, yada, yada, yada. And there's been much criticism of the Commission on Presidential Debates, and legitimately so, okay, for a lot of reasons. And people on the right and the left, but mostly from the right, have just been absolutely just like, oh my God, this sucks, it's terrible. And a lot of it gets down to, and I think legitimately so, you could lay it at the feet of the commission that they are very biased toward Democrats. They let mostly mainstream media people do the moderating. I've yet to remember anybody other than mainstream media people doing the moderating. The ones they've gotten in recent years, Candy Crowley back during 2012 on behalf of CNN and others, have just been horrible. I mean, the Chris Wallace, Mr. Supposed Fox News Objectivity, during 2020 was atrocious. And not just that, he couldn't control the debate. The first debate was a disaster. Trump's yelling over, I mean, not yelling, but Trump's talking over top of Biden and Wallace. Wallace and Biden won't let Trump answer a question. The first debate was a complete and absolute crap show. All right. So the sniping's been going on since April about how the campaigns were going to do this. Well, finally, they've broken through. And when I say they, it wasn't so much the Trump campaign as it was Biden. So let's get into this because we got a lot of different news articles to look at and try and figure out what the heck is going on here. We'll start again with Axios. Biden and Trump agree to June presidential debate hosted by CNN. Article by Justin Green and Aaron Dougherty. We've got the following. President Biden and former President Trump have agreed to participate in a June 27th debate hosted on CNN. Now, I want to stop for a second. I know that the demographics of this audience tends to be a bit more seasoned, perhaps, than other live streams that you might see out there, okay? And because of that fact, I think most people watching this will notice the June 27th date. I mean, now to the best of my memory, and if it's been done earlier than September, somebody stop me here, okay? But to the best of my memory, the June 27th debate for the very date for the first debate is the earliest on record that I think I can remember. Normally, these debates take place starting in about September or maybe October at the absolute latest. Okay. Well, they've agreed to a debate next month. Now, neither of these men, officially speaking, are the nominees of their parties, although that's more or less a foregone conclusion. When Trump goes to Milwaukee in July and when Biden goes to Chicago in August, that that they're going to be their party's nominees. Now, Zippy, I said seasoned. I didn't say old. I said seasoned. Seasoned carries with it a broad range of area as far as chronology. So, don't get your panties in a wad, all right? Just chill out, Anyway. So June 27th is the very first debate between these two guys. And there's a lot of I'm like Gypsy. I mean, I have been chewing on this off and on all day, okay? I can see good and I can see bad. All right? We'll get to some of that a little bit later. All right? But they've agreed on the first date, and apparently they've also agreed on a second date. It's going to be sometime in September. Now, let me see if I can find it here. I think I've got this thing pulled up. Yeah, here it is. Now, you might be asking yourself the question, why would the Biden campaign agree to two debates so early? That's a legitimate question. So they sent a letter to the Commission on Presidential Debates, which I happen to have a copy of, and I'm going to read part of this. To the Commission on Presidential Debates, dated May 15, 2024, from the Biden-Harris campaign. President Joe Biden believes the interests of the American people are best served by presidential debates that offer timely and relevant information to inform voters before they make their choices, and that allow a head-to-head comparison of the two candidates with a chance of winning the election. To that end, President Biden recently said he intends to debate former President Donald Trump in 2024 and intends to debate him twice. Now, I want to stop here for just a second, okay? This wasn't always the case. This whole, he intends to debate former President Trump. I can remember earlier on this year when Biden was asked the question, are you going to debate him? Well, it depends on how he behaves. I mean, literally, the president of the United States was throwing cold water on the whole idea of even doing the debate at all. Okay, citing in part the fact that Trump wasn't even bothered to debate during the primaries against his fellow Republican nominees. Okay, so this whole thing about, I'm intending to debate Trump. I've always intended to debate Trump. Yeah, not so much. Okay, but let's get back to the letter. Vice President Harris also plans to debate her eventual opponent. For his part, Donald Trump has announced that he's prepared to have these debates, quote, anytime, anywhere. The purpose of this letter is to provide notice that the president will not be participating in the Commission on Presidential Debates, announced debates in 2024, and plans to participate in debates hosted by news organizations. There are a number of reasons why this is so. They include, first, the commission has debates that begin after the American people have a chance to cast their vote early and doesn't conclude until after tens of millions of Americans have already voted. Now, I want to stop here for a second. As y'all know, it is extraordinarily rare that I ever agree with Joe Biden or any of his people on anything. But I gotta be honest, the point is valid. I mean, look, in the era of the 21st century, when you have campaigns, and more particularly states that allow for early voting, and ballots are going out in the month of September, and people are, filling them out, they're sending them back in, yada, yada, yada. Having debates that start in the middle of September and end at the middle of October doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, don't get me wrong. We can debate the merits of whether we ought to have early voting, and frankly, as far as I'm concerned, we shouldn't. If your state has an option for an absentee ballot and you know you're not going to be at the polls or not able to be at the polls, fine. You can request an absentee ballot from your county clerk. They mail it out to you. You fill it out. You send it back in. Okay. This whole early voting crap is just opening the door for a whole lot of chicanery on both sides, by the way, Democrats and Republicans. I do not like the idea of early voting. Like I say, I can understand making accommodations for people that physically not able to be there or because of work or family commitments, they cannot be there. Okay, fine. Request an absentee ballot. All right. But if we're going to have early voting, then again, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have these debates start off so late in the year. So I can agree with that part of the reasoning. So let's get back to the letter. Second, the commission's model of building huge spectacles with large audiences at the great expense simply isn't necessary or conducive to good debates. The debate should be conducted for the benefit of the American voters, watching on television and at home, not as entertainment for an in-person audience with raucous or disruptive partisans jeering. As was the case with the original televised debates in 1960, a television audience with just the candidates and moderators is a better, more cost-effective way to proceed, focused solely on the interest of the voters. Okay, I'm stopping right here and calling bullshit. All right, sorry, my language, I know, sorry, but I got to call BS on this one. And good evening, Welsh. Glad to have you here, brother. I am doing well, and I hope you are doing good too. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you are not following this dude, you are truly missing out. One of the best interviewers internationally on any format you find him. Go follow his work. He's a good dude. Welsh, always glad to have you in the audience. And I am having a nice day. It really is a nice day, and I'll tell you why here in a little bit. All right, this whole, well, the debate should be conducted for the benefit of the American voters watching on TV, not as entertainment for an in-person audience with raucous or disruptive partisans and donors. Wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Okay? That's a load of hooey. All right. In all the years since 1960, have there been occasions where crowds have a reaction to something that someone says? Yes. Okay. That said, however, we're not talking about this thing being like a game at Cameron Indoor Arena where Duke is playing basketball against North Carolina. All right. Yes, sometimes there's a reaction. And yes, there are partisans in the audience. I don't dispute that either. But the argument that says that, we've got to change the format of how we do this because these people are loud and raucous and rowdy, and this is not what a debate should be about. Hey, wait a minute. I cannot remember any debate. Presidential or vice presidential, where the substance of what was being talked about by the two individuals on stage didn't still come through, in spite of the fact that maybe you had a cheer or a boo or a whatever out in the audience. Okay. So this second reason on behalf of the Biden people, this is a load of hooey. And good evening, Professor, and thank you for the like. And by the way, if you're here tonight, please hit the thumbs up, be it on YouTube or on Rumble. I genuinely appreciate it. Oh yes, thank you, Gypsy. I saw that you put Welsh's channel in chat. I genuinely appreciate that. Help that brother out. So this thing about, well, we don't need a raucous crowd. That's a load of hooey. I've got a feeling what it gets down to is two things. One, Biden's handlers don't want to leave it open that Biden makes a gaffe and the audience reacts to it, which just makes the gaffe even worse. In other words, it amplifies it. Or two, leave the door open where Biden says something, Trump reacts to it with a comment, and the audience goes, ooh, which again amplifies the point that one or the other is trying to make. All right. Now, that gets to the third reason. The commission includes rules with candidates were called upon to follow, and yet it was unable or unwilling to enforce the rules in the 2020 debates. The result was far from, indeed entirely inconsistent with, the orderly and informative process the voters deserved in 2020 and was expected in 2024. Okay, let's talk about this one for a minute. Yeah, and that's a great point. Yeah, going back to number 2, that's a great point as well. Biden's people don't want to take the chance that Biden gets distracted and then gets confused. Now, this whole thing about, well, you didn't enforce the rules that you laid down. Translation, Trump got to say whatever he wanted and I couldn't do anything about it. So the upshot of all this is, for these 3 reasons that they put on paper, the Biden campaign is like, they're like, we're washing our hands of you. We're going to do this thing on our own. And that's exactly what they've done. So they've gone out to CNN. CNN is going to host the first debate. And we'll get to that here in a minute. Now, Biden, in typically Biden fashion, has advised the world about what he's doing. And I've got to show you this video because unbelievable. Watch this, Joker.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020.
I'm not so sure about that, but okay, if that helps you sleep at night. Anyway, continue.
Said he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again.
Which he does.
Well, make my day, pal.
God, there is nothing original about you. You ripped off lines in 1988, and now you're ripping off lines from Clint Eastwood. Is there anything original that goes through your brain? Seriously?
I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays. Donald.
This guy, unbelievable. Oh, I hear you're free on Wednesdays. You're the one that's causing Donald Trump to be in a courtroom, and then you got the gall to rub the salt in the wound and say to him, oh, I hear you're free on Wednesdays. Well, so for his part, Trump has accepted, and I take you now to his Truth Social. It is my great honor to accept the CNN debate against Crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in U.S. history and a true threat to democracy, on June 27th. Likewise, I accept the ABC News debate against Crooked Joe on September 10th. Thank you, DJT. Well, now, let's talk about this. Because I've got various thoughts about this. I really do. And everybody weigh in on this one. I mean, please feel free, because I'm really dying to hear your comments. Okay. Here's part of the reason that Biden's campaign suggested June 27th. They figure that the trial up in New York is going to be over, which is probably going to be the case. Okay. Whether there'll be a verdict or not, at that time, who knows? But the trial's probably going to be over. So I think that's probably fair. And Biden will have just returned from an overseas trip to the G7 to visit the fellow members of the G7 group of nations. Okay. Now, and I got to give a shout out to Rich Barris on this one, because he makes a perfectly valid point. Joe Biden will be up for this debate. He will be up. He might be on uppers, but he'll be up for it. Okay. The debate's going to be at 9 p.m. Do not be surprised at all to see Joe Biden coming out of the gate swinging, just like he did at the State of the Union. And then the longer the debate goes on, the energy level starts draining off. But he will be up for this debate. He will be, he will be up for it. Now, how should Trump approach this debate? Yeah, he'll be angry Biden, pretty much. ice cream, chocolate chip. Yeah, that's gonna be Biden. How should Trump approach this debate? Well, for one thing, I would kind of taper off the whole he's the worst debater ever and I can mop the floor with him anywhere kind of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's true, but you need to set an expectations going into this thing. Okay. I want you guys who've been around for a while, you seasoned watchers of my channel, to think back to the 2000 debates between Al Gore and George W. Bush. Um, yeah, yeah, absolutely, 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 man, you ain't wrong. Um, think back to the 2000 debate, if you will, and Al Gore's people and Democrats in general and pundits in the media kept saying that George W. Bush was dumber than a box of rocks, dumb as a fence post. He can't speak correctly. He doesn't know anything. If you ask him the leaders of certain countries, he can't name the names. I mean, you guys remember. I mean, y'all they're seasoned enough to remember exactly what I'm talking about. And then he goes into the first debate with Al Gore, and he comes off being reasonable, intelligent, well spoken. And in part why he was viewed so successfully after that first debate is the Democrats had set the bar so damn low, that basically Bush could just skip over the thing and come out looking like the second coming of Winston Churchill. If Trump's not careful, he's going to do the same thing this time, except it's going to be in reverse. He'll wind up doing it on behalf of a Democrat. He'll make all these comments about how dumb Biden is, how stupid he is, how he can't put two sentences together. He's the worst debater in history. He's this, he's that. And then Biden comes into this debate, and then, Biden looks like, the second coming of William Jennings Bryan for all of his eloquence. Ice cream. You get what I'm saying here? So if I were Trump, that's the first thing I'd do. Kind of temper back some of your commentary going into this debate about Biden's ability to debate, number one. Number two, I would absolutely put Biden on the defensive because, I mean, I'm already hearing in the media, that Biden would like to ask certain questions of Trump. Why are you saying that you're proud that you helped overturn Roe v. Wade? Why are you sticking up for the people in jail who were involved with January 6th who were trying to commit an insurrection? All these things. Okay, fine. Have an answer ready for him. But more importantly, when I say, be prepared, here's the other thing I'm getting at. Because Biden's going to lie through his teeth. I'll give you an example. The other day, actually it was about a week ago now, Biden gives an interview on CNN, and he makes the outlandish statement that inflation when he came into office was over 9%. Okay. It is categorically untrue. We disproved that in about 30 seconds here on my live stream. That's how easy it was. That's how tissue paper thin that lie was. Okay. And Corey, you ain't wrong, brother. You are not wrong. His mouth moves. He's probably lying. And this is what I'm getting at. Be ready to give an answer because Biden's going to try and lie through his teeth. Well, man, when I came into office, the economy was in such bad shape. The first thing ought to come out of Trump's mouth. Hey, wait a minute. I was there, brother. I remember because when I left office, you had low inflation. You had jobs that were plentiful. We had low cost. I mean, just be prepared. Just bounce it right back at him. Set up the contrast. That's what this debate's going to be. Okay. Biden, if I had to guess, is probably going to go with January 6th, and you're an insurrectionist, and you're a danger to democracy, and everything about you is bad, and you suck, and you overturned abortion, and you want to take away health care. Some of it is standard Democrat boilerplate points, and some of it is just going to be specific to Trump. Okay. Now I am not recommending that Trump get saucy, but if you're going to do it, this is a good way. This is a real good way to do it. And people say that I have a tame audience. Oh, heck no. Anyway. So you get my point. I mean, there's a lot of time between then and now. So basically we're talking about what? Month and a half? But if I were Trump and his people, get ready. Okay. Now, there is one unusual thing, okay, that the Biden campaign has requested, and they did it, and you saw it in part in their letter, but they've made it official today, okay? And it's this. It's a very unusual sort of comment, or unusual request, I should say. He doesn't want an audience. Trump, Biden, the moderator, the camera crew, that's it. Nobody else. And again, I go back, I mean, the article, there's a thought about this. And that is, look, everywhere Biden goes these days, he's getting protesters coming at him from, about this whole, whoops. Uh-oh, what happened here? Am I back? Am I gone? Crap, hang on. This happened last night to me. I don't know why. Okay, guys, hang loose for a second. I'll be right back. I got to step out for a second. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry. It happens to me sometimes. My apologies. Make sure my settings are okay here. Yep. Okay, we're good. Sorry about that. Anyway, no audience. No audience at all. Nothing. Okay. It's what in the world is going on here? Lord have mercy. What is this nonsense? Sorry about this, guys. I've got a very confused computer right now. Yeah, they may be. Scary here. Okay, now everything's back up. Jeez, I don't have that many tabs open. This is crazy. What's up with that? All right. Anyway, now a couple other points about this debate. The moderators have already been selected. All right, and we go to Politico and we find out the moderators for the June 27th debate are going to be Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. It's not unexpected. Now they might be. They might be. I now that I don't know about. I don't know about that. But yeah, Tapper and Bash are going to be doing the CNN debate. Oh yeah, I know. They're terrible. No, Tapper won't do that. Tapper's probably going to do everything he can to help Biden. Same thing with Dana Bash. But on the other hand, I mean, I was reading something else. I think it was on Axios, where Trump was being interviewed by radio host Hugh Hewitt, and he told Hugh, he's like, "Look, I don't care who the moderator is. Let's just do it. Let's get it on." Which, I mean, if you've seen Trump in these sort of situations, town halls, whatever, I'm not surprised by his reaction. I mean, Trump will just take on all comers. Now, how well he does, okay, we'll see. Yeah, and see, and this is a great point. And I want to talk about this for a second. This is a really great point. Dave, I'm glad you brought this up. I applaud both the Trump campaign and the Biden campaign for looking at the Commission on Presidential Debates and together, in a bipartisan manner, flipping them the bird. Okay, the Commission on Presidential Debates should have been chucked a long time ago. All right, just wad it up, throw it out, because it's terrible. Okay, because basically, one of the bad things about it is it creates a monopoly for the mainstream media. Their people are the ones showing you the images. Their people are the ones moderating the debates. Look, here's my suggestion. Okay? Pick a building somewhere. I don't care where in America you want to do it. You want to do it on a college campus? Fine. Fine. Do it online. Either host it on Rumble or YouTube, or let the two of them do it together. Okay? Let the two of them do it together. Co-hosted by YouTube and Rumble. Both of them stream the debates simultaneously. And here is the pool of potential moderators. Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, Jimmy Dore, Michael Malice, Alex Jones. Oh, who else do I want to throw into this? Let's see. Tim Pool. Throw Tim Pool into it. Let me think of who else I could get. I'm trying to think of a lady. It's not to be insulting to you lady. Ann Coulter. Throw in Ann Coulter for the hell of it. I could think of any number of people that would be even hand. John Stossel would be another good one. I can handle John Stossel. Kimberly Stossel, for that matter. All right, to make one concession to the mainstream media, Kim Stossel. I just thought of a real good one. Selena Zito. Well, okay, that's a little bit of a stretch even for me. Oh, it'd be a hoot, but I don't know. Even I don't know about that one. But you get my point. I mean, look, I'm obviously not the sharpest knife in the case, but I can sit here and come up with a list of names of people who could be genuinely even-handed about this, okay? Miranda Devine be another good one. Be a great one. You know, again, with a nod to the mainstream media, even though I think Miranda's really cool. Molly Hemingway from The Federalist. I mean, I can sit here and come up with about 10 to 15 different names of different people who could be even-handed enough to moderate this debate. You could cut out the mainstream media. I mean, honestly, and this is not necessarily a knock against the Trump campaign. I mean, Biden, I expect Biden to be doing what he's doing. He's trying to protect himself. Okay? The way he has arranged this debate in the end is about protection. It's not about information. It's not about persuasion. It's not even about mobilization. It's about protection. Okay, let's just get right down to it. This guy is a vegetable on two legs. Or maybe it's a better way to say it. His brains are a bowl of ice cream on two legs. Okay? Biden is not here. He might be here in body, but the brain, I have no idea where it's at. His handlers, his campaign staff know this is about protection. Hence the reason they're not letting an audience live for the debate. Okay? Hence, they don't want the debates later in the presidential season. Although I think their reason about early voting, I think that's legit. I got no problem with that. Yeah, and this is a great point. If people stop and think about the terms under which Biden wants to do this debate, they're going to realize, man, there is something not right about this, even by objective standard. You know? So, yeah, be another good one. Agreed. This whole debate setup is about Biden's people trying to protect their boss. It's early in the year. If God forbid in their book he does say something so dumb and so stupid, hopefully everybody's going to forget about it. At least that's their prayer. They only want 2 of them, and they don't want a live audience. They're trying to protect Biden from himself. That's all this gets down to. Now, how do I think Trump's going to do? I don't know yet. It depends on how Trump plays this thing. If he goes in like a bull in a china shop, like he did in the very first debate back in 2020, I mean, he might score some points with people generally, but he's not going to get his point across that, hey, I'm the former president who was here during good economic times. Okay? I'm the guy that you ought to remember who helped you get a good economy. I'm the guy that had generally a peaceful arrangement around the world. So, I mean, Democrats, for their part, they seem pretty happy about what's going on here. They're like, yeah, let's do it, man. Let's get it on. Okay. We shall see. By the way, by the by, the Trump campaign, now that the first debate is set, has come out with a video. I think it's worth watching. I think it's kind of fun. And I found it, thought you guys might enjoy it. So let me put this thing up here, and I'll kind of step off to the side and tell me what you guys think of this. Well, let me make sure. Yeah, okay.
Hey.
I don't know about y'all, but that's pretty good. If nothing else, to get your toes tapping. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. I really did. Oh, by the way, we do have. Hang on a minute. I gotta check something here. Let me look at something. Hang on. The heck is going on? Uh-oh. Do not cause me this kind of trouble. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hang on. Hang on. We have obtained apparently I guess before they made all these moves today, the Biden campaign has been prepping Joe Biden for this debate against Donald Trump, and somebody leaked secret video. So look, I'm going to share this with you guys and, keep it on the down low. But, apparently Biden is really getting into his training for this debate. So do me a favor and check this out.
Hey, I didn't hear no bell. All right, that's right. Lift the jab. That's it. Mental right. See that bum in front of you. You see yourself doing right, and you do right. That Apollo won't know what hit him. You're going to roll over him like a bulldozer. And I tell you, hey.
So, hey, Biden, he's ready. He's ready, baby. He's ready. So, anywho, so yeah, that's the news about the debates. So we'll keep an eye on this. And in case you're wondering, yes, by golly, by George, we are going to be live streaming this. I have every intention to live stream this debate, and I'm going to reach out to the boys and see if they are up for a Thursday evening of watching this nonsense. So yes, put that on your calendars. Thursday, June 27th. Ons are about 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be live streaming that debate on my channel. So hope to have you here for it. Anywho, my name is Brian Trimpett. This is Chatting on the Porch. We're looking at some items in the news. We are on YouTube. We are on Rumble. We are on Twitter. So if you haven't done it yet, and I know all of you have, God love every one of you that do it, send out a tweet, a Gettr, a Gab, a Truth Social, a Facebook post, wherever you are on social media. Tell people to come on in. And while you are here, hit that thumbs up button. It really helps the algorithm. You know, like I said the other night, I never believed that Al Gore invented anything, but apparently he invented rhythm, and it's got his name all over it. Algorithm. Strange. Oh, brother, thank you for stopping by. Glad you're able to join us. Come on back anytime. So I want to follow up in our next story with something that came out yesterday. As you all know, we did some discussion last night on the producer price index. And in case you're not remembering this, yesterday a report came out from the Commerce Commission showing that the producer price index, which is the measure of inflation at the wholesale level. In other words, you know, when manufacturers of goods are buying the material that they need to produce their product, what is it costing them? Okay. What is it? Are they experiencing any inflation? Are prices staying the same or whatever, you know? So, you know, yesterday we found out from the Department of Commerce that the producer price index went up by 0.5% in the month of April. Okay. Basically, that is their inflation mark that wholesalers are dealing with, the producers of goods. Well, today the consumer price index came out. And interestingly enough, it's in line with estimates. Now, this is from Breitbart. Consumer prices are up 3.4% through April, in line with estimates. Well, that's just great. Consumer price index rose 0.3% in April compared to the previous month. Compared with 12 months earlier, the prices are up 3.4%, according to the Department of Labor. Economists have forecast a 0.3% increase in the month-to-month figure and 3.4% rise over 12 months. So, okay, apparently this thing is in line. All right. That's what they tell us. But when people saw this news, they definitely had a different reaction. Okay. This next thing I'm going to show you is a tweet from a gentleman named Jason DeSena Trennert. And if you're wondering who he is, he's the chairman and chief investment strategist at Strategis RP, number one ranked Wall Street's number one indie macro firm for the last 7 years. And of this report, he says the following. Strategis Common Man CPI is plus 3.8 year over year and has exceeded the official number for 9 consecutive months and in 34 of the last 40 months. Gold moving higher. Inflation as a campaign issue is over, and Biden has lost. That's a pretty severe comment. So what does all this mean? Well, if you remember back to the last time the official economist of the electronic front porch, Dr. Robin McCutcheon, came by, she, in all of her research and everything she's looking at, came to the conclusion that inflation is not getting any better, it's getting worse, and it's still going up. Now, Biden and his people, and Democrats in general, have been trying to make the argument that the reason that prices are going up is due to corporate greed. In other words, the greedy daggone companies, they're trying to screw the little guy. They're all about profits, and they're all about this, and they're shrinking the amount of potato chips in the potato bag. and yada yada. And, you've heard these things, right? Right? Okay. Well, I heard something today, and I want to share it with you guys because somebody laid out something so commonsensically brilliant and easy to understand that the next time someone throws it in your face, one of your buddies throws it in your face, damn corporations are just a bunch of greedy bastards. They're trying to screw the little man. They're trying to put it to you, put it to me. They're trying to mess us over. Not so. I take you to an exchange between Steve Bannon and a gentleman named E.J. Antoni, who is an economist at the Heritage Foundation. And they had E.J. Antoni gave probably one of the best explanations that I have heard about why this argument about corporate greed is a load of hooey. So I'm going to pull this up. I'm hoping that this thing plays correctly and check this out. Maybe. Uh-oh. What is the matter with you? Hang on a minute, folks. Technical difficulties. What's going on here? Oh, okay. Here we go. Hang on.
As a campaign issue is over for
percent increase, which they allege over.
Don't do that. Okay. Anyway, here is the exchange between Bannon and E.J. Antoni. Listen very carefully to what E.J. Antoni says about this. I think you're going to find this to be really interesting.
Look, Jason Trennert over at Strategis is not he's not a fire breather. He's like EJ. These guys are and Scott Bessent. These guys are some of the best guys on Wall Street, either major hedge fund managers or are retained by hedge fund managers to give them an independent assessment away from their own in-house economists and their own in-house analytics to make sure that they're getting a lot of different views. This is what you want to get a range of opinions. Jason Trennert, EJ, and his common man, a CPI, where he adds in basically what you talk about. He's got a chart up, and if Denver could put that chart back up again, you see the spread there. And he says, hey, inflation as a campaign issue is over for Biden, and he lost because the numbers are going to be very difficult, not impossible to change, particularly with yesterday's PPI, the producer price. Remember, that's the wholesale price that'll roll through the numbers in a month or two. Your thoughts?
Okay, now I know that is a long setup for this, and I'm not trying to stretch it out anymore, but I need to give you all context for the answer that you're about to hear. So everything Bannon just said, remember that. Now listen to what E.J. Antoni has to say.
Steve, that's exactly right. And by the way, that actually blows a hole below the waterline to this whole idea that inflation is somehow caused by corporate greed. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you look at the producer price index or wholesale inflation, that's essentially the cost that businesses are having to pay versus the CPI consumer price index. That's the cost that UI and all your viewers are paying. You find that those are both up essentially the same percentage over Biden's presidency. And as a result of that, the costs that businesses are paying are simply being passed on to consumers. And so this whole idea that somehow businesses are being greedy and are causing inflation, it doesn't even pass the smell test.
Okay. I don't always get a chance to listen to everything E.J. Antoni is saying, but in that, call it 45 seconds, he dropped one of the best truth bombs you're ever going to hear. Okay. I will give the other side credit. They're making the argument, well, the reason the prices are going up is corporate greed. No. If there were no inflation on the producer side of this, in other words, the cost for them of manufacturing their product, and they were just jacking up their prices, okay, that'd be one thing. You could maybe make that argument stick. But E.J. Antoni makes an absolutely fantastic point, and that is, if you go back and look at it, and let me see if I can pull this back up to everyone's benefit here. Yeah. Or something close to it. if you actually track producer price index, in other words, wholesale inflation, against consumer inflation, they're running about the same, which means the producers are passing on the cost, the increased cost they're feeling to the consumer. It's not an issue of corporate greed. If there were absolutely no inflation whatsoever on the producer side of this thing, and they were just jacking up the price, okay, you can make the argument stick there being a bunch of greedy bastards. They're just passing on the, first of all, they're not just passing on the cost, they're doing what they have to do as a business. It's costing them more to make their product. They're passing on that cost to the consumer. Follow the trend lines. One begets the other. I mean, it's one of the oldest arguments in economics. Even if we weren't going through what we're going through right now, y'all know this instinctively. If you are a producer of a good or service, and the cost of that good or service is going up, you got one of two choices. You either eat the cost or you pass the cost on to the consumer. Well, they're doing what any business would normally do. They're passing the cost on to the consumer. Well, no, not because they're trying to screw over the little guy. That's what they've got to do to survive as a business. I mean, I want to play that again because, like I said, that is probably one of the best answers that I have heard about this whole thing. Let me pull this back up, set it up again. Listen to this.
And he says, hey, inflation as a campaign issue is over for Biden, and he lost because the numbers are going to be very difficult, not impossible to change, particularly with yesterday's PPI, the producer price. Remember, that's the wholesale price that'll roll through the numbers in a month or two. Your thoughts?
Steve, that's exactly right. And by the way, that actually blows a hole below the waterline to this whole idea that inflation is somehow caused by corporate greed. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you look at the producer price index or wholesale inflation, that's essentially the cost that businesses are having to pay versus the CPI consumer price index. That's the cost that you, I, and all your viewers are paying. You find that those are both up essentially the same percentage over Biden's presidency. And as a result of that, the costs that businesses are paying are simply being passed on to consumers. Yep. And so this whole idea that somehow businesses are being greedy and are causing inflation, it doesn't even pass the smell test.
And Zippy, and I'm not mad at this question, but this is the question that most people, if they had never heard this kind of answer, they'd be saying this very thing. And you're getting it. It's the general prices. Yeah, exactly. The cost for the producers of the goods and services, their cost is going up. And what are they doing? What business people always do? They pass on the cost to the consumer. So yes, Joe Biden, as usual, you are full of crap like a Christmas goose. And in 45 seconds, this very intelligent fella took your whole argument, wadded it up, and threw it in the trash can. So there you go. Okay. Got a little bit of time left for this session of Chatting on the Porch. And I want to play something for you guys. And I got to give a hat tip to Simon Atiba, who posted something on Twitter. And I thought you guys would want to see this. There was a reporter who went down to Georgia. No, she wasn't the devil. And the reporter went down to Georgia, and she was looking for a soul to interview. And she came across some voters, and the folks at MSNBC may never let this poor woman go back down to Georgia because some of what she came back with is not helping. So I want to play this. This runs about 1:43. I'll interrupt it if I need to. I think you guys need to see this. Check this out.
By this trial, are they paying close attention? And what impact might a guilty verdict have on their decision to support the former president? Here's what they told me. Take a look.
Do each of you support Donald Trump?
I do.
Yes. Yes for all three of you?
Yes.
Has this trial changed your opinion, even caused you to waver or question that at all?
No, it's actually caused me to support him more. I just don't believe there's a coincidence that we have a trial happening in Atlanta. We have one happening in New York. So the question people are beginning to ask themselves, like I did, is like, why now?
It's pretty much everybody says they're picking on him. You know, people are tired of going after him, and you see it in so many areas. It's really not a big issue in the party. Actually, they're really making everybody mad, and they.
What have you and what have I and what have people been saying? That when I shouldn't say ordinary, when people who aren't necessarily politically tuned in see what's going on in these 4 different court venues around the country, all aimed at one man, trying to put him in jail for the rest of his natural life, they're not looking at us like, get that SOB. They're like, what the heck is going on around here? Let's continue with this because this gets better.
They look at a big bully, and the government is the bully.
This is going to be your first time casting a ballot. What is it for you?
But he still hasn't given up. He keeps fighting to do what's right.
I've talked to many people who formerly identified as a Democrat. They have changed their political persuasion to independent, and they are looking forward to voting for Trump because now they find something in common with a political candidate at that level.
When you say they find commonality, what is that commonality?
They have felt persecuted by the system of American injustice. And it's not a stretch for them to think that Trump may be a victim as well. The people see that there's some kind of commonality between himself and maybe all the Black men that have been incarcerated and the families that have been impacted by Black male incarceration.
Oh, y'all. Oh, that is devastating. Just plain old devastating. Oh, man. Just unbelievable. You know, you saw that young man, the lady from MSNBC, and I don't know what her name was. She was interviewing him, and she said, "This is your first time casting a ballot?" He said, "Yes." "Who are you voting for?" "I'm voting for Trump." It doesn't matter whose poll you look at. Could be Emerson. It could be Morning Consult. It could be Siena College on behalf of the New York Times. It doesn't matter who you're looking at. Trump's rise in 2024 is attributed to an increase in African American vote, Hispanic vote, and voters between the ages of 18 to 29. It is no wonder that old-timers like James Carville are about to lose whatever hair is left on their head of all of this, because those 3 components, along with 2 or 3 others, make up the base of the Democrat Party, and Trump is just chewing into it. And now these reporters are getting out of their, Washington, D.C. style bubbles and New York City style bubbles and going out and talking to people, and they're finding out everything they've been thinking to themselves is absolute crap, because voters are looking them in the eye and saying, hell yes, I'm voting for Trump. He represents what we've been going through. I can get down with this guy. So, yeah, I would have given a lot of money to be able to look over the shoulder of these folks that she was talking to and look back at her and get the reaction on her face. Now, for all I know, she may have been professional enough. That she, kind of hid her. She was able to poker face her reaction, and maybe she did. But I'd have given a lot of money to see it. Yeah, and this is true too. And I think it goes to that response from that lady about African Americans looking at Donald Trump and seeing something. It is the heavy hand of government and local law enforcement. This is going to be a very fascinating election, because as usual, the American people are going to say something through their vote, and the supposed mainstream media is going to misunderstand it again. Or maybe better not say they're not going to misunderstand it. They're not going to want to understand it. They're going to take their collective heads, stick it in the sand, And once again, la, 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 la. We don't want to hear you, la, 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 la. That's exactly what they're going to do. And please do not ask me to do that again. I have very little dignity left. What little bit of dignity I have left, I don't want to ruin it with a repeat performance, but you get the idea. Oh, gosh. Tell you what, we got a few minutes left. And I want to go over something that leads to something else. Yeah, I know that's really specific. Lisa Murkowski, everyone's favorite Republican, he says with dripping sarcasm, apparently is not too happy with the likes of J.D. Vance and Rick Scott and other Republican senators who are going up to New York City and trying to show their solidarity with former President Trump as he's going through this thing in Manhattan. As a matter of fact, she had some words to say about it in thehill.com. Knocks fellow Republicans for attending the Trump trial. She calls it ridiculous. Article by Tara Suter, we have the following. Lisa Murkowski, Republican from Alaska, reportedly went after fellow members of her party who have attended former President Trump's hush money trial in New York. Quote, do we have something to do around here other than watch a stupid porn trial? I mean, this is ridiculous. The Alaska Republican said Tuesday, according to the Huffington Post, when the outlet asked her about the GOP members who have gone to the trial this week. Those who have joined the former president include House Speaker Mike Johnson, former GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, Senators J.D. Vance, Tommy Tuberville, and Rick Scott of Ohio, Alabama, and Florida, respectively, and Representative Byron Donalds. So, Lisa's not real happy about this. Well, she's not the only one, by the way. Mittens has spoken up about this. And in case you're wondering who we're referring to, the soon-to-be retired, and God, please get him out as fast as possible, short of physically taking him out, Lord, soon-to-be former senator from the state of Utah, Mitt Romney. He was interviewed just outside of his office, and he had the following to say. Check this out.
What do you think about these people? Republicans going to the courthouse in Manhattan with the red ties and the dark suits and saying the case is bogus?
I think it's a little demeaning to show up in front of a courthouse, and particularly one where we're talking about an allegation of paying a porn star.
Okay, hold on a minute, Mittens. Demeaning. How about demeaning having a former president on trial for something he shouldn't even be on trial for? I mean, forgive me for asking you the question, but shouldn't you be a little bit more upset about that than the fact that your fellow members of your party are going up there and trying to show some support for the poor guy who's being put through the ringer for not one damn good reason? Shouldn't it be more demeaning to the American system of justice that this travesty is going on? Yet you're upset about the fact that at least somebody's trying to go up there and give the guy a little bit of support. But it's demeaning that they're even doing that. Whoa. Lord, this man cannot leave office soon enough. I cannot tell you. Anyway, back to his scintillating commentary.
It's really very difficult to watch.
Why is it difficult to watch?
Well, there's a level of dignity and decorum that you expect of people who are running for the highest station in the land.
Oh, you mean the kind of decorum that keeps them from putting their opponent on trial? That kind of decorum, Mitt?
And going out and prostrating themselves in front of the public to try and apparently.
You mean the way you were prostrating yourself in front of the public when you were trying to get elected president in 2012? All the crap you did?
Curry favor with the person who's our nominee is a little embarrassing.
Thanks, Senator.
Oh, this guy. Like I said, he cannot leave office soon enough. Who's the worst? Ooh, this is a good question. This is a real good question right here. Man, I don't know. That's tough. I'm going to give it to John Kerry by a nose. Okay. And the reason I say that, Mitt Romney's an idiot. Mitt Romney is an elitist. Mitt Romney is a lot of things. John Kerry is all those things as well. But there is one difference. And this is why I give it to that question. I give it to John Kerry by a nose. John Kerry might be an idiot and an elitist and everything else, but he's also an idiot and an elitist who's trying to ram down the throats of the American people his version of how they should live, regardless of whether they want to live that way or not. So for that reason, I say John Kerry. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I can understand where that would be a problem. Yeah, now I've been there, done that, brother, so I can kind of relate to what you're going through. Just saying. Oh gosh. Well, that wasn't the last of Mitt. I'm doing this out of respect to Miss Gypsy, because she sent this to me the other night, and I want to hear his response. Apparently, Mittens feels like we need more government overreach, including vaccines for bird flu. This runs about 3 minutes, so I'm not sure where exactly in this he calls for it, but I'm going to let this run, and we'll see what we come up with here. But yeah, this gives you an idea. I mean, like I said that John Kerry is the worst of the two, but Mitt's not too far behind him, and I think you'll understand why when you hear this.
Well, first of all, you would have expected that the lessons that we learned with COVID, as well as the lessons on the baby food shortage, would have led our various government agencies to say, we need to be able to collect better data, look at trends in data, identify threats before they become severe. But that hasn't happened to the degree I'd like to see it. So with regards to the so-called bird flu, we have the Department of Agriculture that's doing some work. We have the CDC, which is doing some work, and other agencies as well. But the coordination of their data gathering has not been as extensive as I'd like to see it. They haven't been able to communicate yet to the American people that they're fully on top of this terrible condition. And as a result, a lot of people are frightened. And fear, of course, can create challenges and harms to American people. So, I want to see the federal government come back to us with a complete report on what they're doing to make sure that we're gathering the information we need from ranches, from states, from communities across the country, to make sure that that any threat from bird flu has been identified early enough that we can prevent it from a spread or, heaven forbid, entering into our food system.
Oh, boy. Exactly, Robert. Exactly. This guy. Oy vey. Just a piece of work. Can I squeeze this in? I can tease this. I'm probably going to get into this more tomorrow night, because this will give me a chance to break down some of his testimony today. I'll end it with this tonight. The House Committee on the Weaponization of Justice in America. Okay. Y'all know how I feel about the Republicans. I think they're a bunch of ineffective idiots for the most part. With notable exceptions, there are some of them up there that are really good and they're really effective at fighting back. There's just not enough of them. So for the most part, I think the Republicans on Capitol Hill are absolutely useless. Okay. And normally their idea of doing something effective is writing a severely worded letter or having a committee hearing. So it's in that framework that, y'all might have heard about the Committee on the Weaponization of Law, which is being chaired by Jim Jordan, which I got no problem with Jim Jordan. I like Jim Jordan. He's cool. Well, one of the people that he had up there today was a fellow named Bob Costello. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, he is, among other things, someone who has dealt with Michael Cohen at great length. And he was called to testify before the committee today. And I will say this. If Bob Costello is not called by Trump's team to testify in that trial up in Manhattan, I'm going to be shocked. And if he's not called to testify, Trump's entire legal team ought to be up on sanctions for just malpractice of law. So I'm going to tease a couple of clips. And he was asked some questions with regard to Michael Cohen and Judge Juan Marchand. So the first one runs about 20 seconds, and this is going to tease some more for tomorrow night. But take a listen to this, because I think you guys are going to find Bob Costello's commentary here really interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no coincidences here. The fact that Judge Marchand has had all of these cases, and by the way, when he finishes with the Donald Trump case, Steve Bannon is next. Out of all the judges in New York County, somehow they keep on coming up with the same judge. Coincidence?
Yeah. One more clip, and like I say, we're gonna get into this more tomorrow, because I mean, he gave some testimony. Bob Costello gave some testimony today that was absolutely truth bombing all over the place. So Matt Gaetz gets a hold of Costello and asks him an interesting question. Check this out.
Is there a single branch of government that Michael Cohen hasn't lied to?
Gee, I think there isn't.
God. Woo! Oh, man. That's a pretty damning indictment of an individual. That is there any branch of government that Michael Cohen hasn't lied to? Let me think about that. No. Wow. So we're going to get into some of that tomorrow night. A lot of it, actually, because I tell you what, there is a ton of clips out there from Mr. Costello's testimony that we can go through. And I am telling you right now, if Trump's legal team does not get, and he probably already is, all right, but I mean, if he's not already on their witness list, they need to get him on there, because everything he knows about Michael Cohen, he could decimate Alvin Bragg's case. Because let's be honest, Alvin Bragg's case comes down to two people, Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen. Okay? And I'm telling you right now, if this guy takes the stand up in Manhattan on behalf of Trump, I'm not going to say that his testimony by itself wins Trump the case, but it will go a long way to absolutely shredding the credibility of Michael Cohen and whatever credibility Stormy Daniels has. Okay? But most certainly, Michael Cohen is going to, in the eyes of the jury, if they've got even a shred of objectivity about them, they're going to listen to everything Bob Costello says about Michael Cohen, and they're going to be like, I ain't believing a damn thing Michael Cohen tells me. Well, and I can understand that. It's not like he's got, Robert Barnes up there on his behalf, which why he doesn't have Barnes, I have no idea. But anyway, you get my point. I agree with you. I agree, but I'm just saying, when we get into this tomorrow night, I think you're going to understand why I am so, I don't know the words excited. I'm just like, look, you got to have somebody be able to tell you what's the real deal here. And Costello, when you hear more about what he's got to say, if you haven't heard it on your own, which fine, maybe check it out at your leisure, but we're definitely talking about this tomorrow night, among other topics. But when you hear what this guy's got to say, yeah, I think you're going to understand why I'm so very interested in what he knows becoming part of the public conversation. Well, anyway, that's everything I've got tonight for Chatting on the Porch. And I want to thank all of you who are here tonight. Gypsy, Dave, Zippy, Robert, everybody, Corey for stopping by. I know I'm forgetting names. I know that Christian Watson was here. I know that Welsh was here, and God love y'all. God bless y'all. Indian Jesus was here. Seabass was here for a while. So I want to thank all you guys, and we will be back tomorrow night. And like I said, I'm getting really comfortable with the idea of doing live streams through the week. I mean, I'm not trying to necessarily work myself up to them, but it's kind of a process for me. And yes, do not forget to hit the like button, be it on YouTube or on Rumble. So please, please, please. And by the way, thank you once again to all you viewers on Rumble who saw the live stream yesterday. I had the biggest number of views I've ever gotten on a live stream on Rumble, or one of the biggest numbers anyway. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Continue to share and spread the word. Subscribe to the channels on both places. I would genuinely appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7:30. And we'll be talking about things in the news. We will be back for Front Porch Brunch this weekend. So in the meanwhile, y'all have a great night. We'll be back together again tomorrow night. If you've got stories out there you think are interesting, pass them on to me. Tag me on Twitter. I'll take a look at them, and if I think it's something we need to be talking about, absolutely, I'll throw it into the mix. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And there's a lot of good content creators out there right now who have got live streams going. Go check them out. Give them support. Give them a thumbs up. Give them a subscription if you're not subscribed to their channels already. And it doesn't necessarily have to be political either. There's a ton of good people out there. And so find something you like. Find some people you like. Give them support and give them love. Give love to your families. And in the meanwhile, remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." Thanks, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a good evening.